They've been in every single game that they've lost so far. 3 of their 4 losses this year have been on the road to very good teams. But let's start on the other side. How did the Seattle Seahawks pull off the win last night, CC?
Well, they've stayed with their formula, the way that Pete Carroll, when they started the season, they started a little slow. They started off, we're going to throw the ball with Russell Wilson, same way they had done the 2017 season. That was going to be hard to do, too, because Doug Baldwin missed almost all the training camp. Immediately, him and Brian Schottenheimer had a come-to-Jesus meeting. And he told them, listen, we're not rebuilding, but we are going to retool this offense. We're going to run the football. We're going to be physical. They're first in the NFL. You can see the reason why. They stuck to that formula, dominating time of possession. I remember when we used to get our defense, and Tony Dungy used to be our defensive coordinator. He used to talk about the amount of effect of time of possession. And once you get to like 32 to 34 minutes, the defense, they really start to show the signs of wear and tear if they have to stay on the field. So always had that in mind. 35 minutes time of possession. When you talk about these explosive offenses, and you always ask this question, well, Chris, how are they going to win the game? We'll keep Patty Mahomes on the sideline, because Patty Mahomes has played spectacular on the road, even better than playing at home. So it's not Patty Mahomes, but their inability to be able to run the ball when they want to, inability for their defense to get off the field. Like, I don't believe with that defense, it's going to be hard to win a Super Bowl, hard to impossible to win a Super Bowl with their defense and their inability to play good pass coverage.
On the Seattle side of things, because I know we're going to get more heavily into the Chiefs side of things, I know, one of your pet peeves about shows similar to this one, maybe even this show at times, is too much focus just on the quarterback and not enough focus on the other 52 guys on the football team. But I do want to say, since you said all those things about Seattle, something about Russell Wilson for a moment. He is as clutch of a quarterback as we have in this league. I was shocked that the Seahawks, in the spot they were in, where the Chiefs couldn't stop them on the ground, the Seahawks were up 4, that they were still throwing the ball, or up 3, still throwing the ball late. And Russell Wilson made 2 of the most perfect passes. The one that he threw seemingly straight up in the air that dropped right in the arms of Doug Baldwin, and the tipped catch to himself down the sideline. What he did late in this game was spectacular. You have talked all year about how much they've missed a healthy Doug Baldwin. Last night was the healthiest he's been. And credit to Sunday Night Football for showing this stat. Tyler Lockett this year, when targeted, 55 catches, almost 900 yards, 9 touchdowns, and a perfect passer rating from Russell Wilson when targeting Doug Baldwin. Oh, and it's not through 3 weeks of the season. I mean, he's been targeted nearly 70 times, a perfect passer rating. When you marry that with maybe the league's best rushing attack, certainly the NFC's best rushing attack, this makes Seattle a very dangerous team. And credit to them, since Russell's been there in the playoffs every year except for last year. Last year, they went into the 4th quarter of Week 17 alive for the playoffs. And now they're back this year.
So composed. Is there a quarterback you trust more in the NFC other than Russell Wilson? But let's talk about the Chiefs now. So you look at this team, and what do you think about what you saw yesterday and what they have to do now heading into Week 17?
Well, we knew ultimately they have to replace the productivity of Kareem Hunt. I didn't think they would be able to do that. Other people think otherwise. They're not as good of a team. They don't have that constant threat to be able to run the ball, and also the dual threat that he was. Also coming out of the backfield, their overall speed of what they can do sideline to sideline, you don't see them run that many little speed sweeps and everything, because Sammy Watkins being injured, hadn't practiced in a couple weeks. So is he going to come back? So this offense is not as explosive as it was earlier in the year, missing Sammy Watkins, missing their all-pro running back, and you can start to see that. They're starting to keep them in front of them, not throw the ball over top of their head. And Patty Mahomes, especially early in games, trying to make the extreme, the big play compared to getting first downs. There was early in this game, he had a couple opportunities. He could have either ran or even thrown for a shorter pass. He decides to go deep. They end up getting off the field, get that Seattle. That's why they end up losing time of possession. I don't need all the trick shots. I compared them to Steph Curry. Steph Curry, when he warms up, man, he looks spectacular. But in the game, his fundamentals are sound. And Patty Mahomes, that's what I see, especially early in games, trying to rely on the spectacular play compared to just the basic fundamental plays.
Is that a youth thing? Is that an inexperienced thing?
I think he's shown nerves in some of the biggest road environments he's been in. The game in New England, he missed some throws early. This game, he missed some throws early. And I was watching specifically for the things Chris talked about last week against the Chargers, because I didn't notice as much in the Chargers, where he had the opportunity to take an easy play and tried to make a great play. And very early in this game, there was an example. First series of the game, they have 3rd and 2. He could have just run for it. He has it in front of him to run for it. Instead, he tries to go for a 40-yard pass, and they get off the field. And that ended up being critical. Now, I agree with Chris that the offense is not as good without Kareem Hunt. I still think this offense, even without Kareem Hunt, is the best offense in the NFL. But that's not what's going to prevent them from either getting to or winning the Super Bowl. This defense right now, unless they get a devastating offensive penalty, a hold in a terrible spot, or Chris Jones gets home, you're just hoping the other team drops a pass. Like, you're just hoping the other team screws something up. There was, watching this game last night, there was no time where you were like, oh, the Chiefs are going to get off the field here. The couple times it looked like they did get off the field, they got called for defensive either pass interference or defensive holding in the secondary. The defense is hugely problematic. The only glimmer of silver lining, if there is one for Chiefs fans, is that the defense has been far better at home, whether it's the crowd noise, the environment. And despite the loss last night, if they beat the Raiders in Week 17, everything will go through Kansas City. But if they get to the Super Bowl, much less win it, it'll be the worst defense to ever have done that in the Super Bowl era. Like the Chiefs, eye test and statistical test, this would be the worst defense to make it to a Super Bowl.
What does the Kansas City offense have to do to not put the game in the defense's hands, besides just score a ton of points?
Score every time.
Is that just going to stay on the field as long as possible?
Well, they have to develop another wide receiver. If you limit Travis Kelce, if you take away Tyreek Hill, who's going to be their other guy? They had so many explosive players to begin the season. Now they signed Kelvin Benjamin. He's on the roster, didn't utilize him last night. Who's going to be that other third receiver, second wide receiver? Because Kelce is a number one in himself. Because when you get bogged down, you can see in last night's game, they don't have anyone that they feel comfortable to go to on a regular basis.
And late in the game, a critical drive when it looked like after the big play to Tyreek Hill down the sideline, when it looked like they were going to be able to tie the game up, they did throw a pass to Kelvin Benjamin. And Kelvin Benjamin, right in front of the end zone, did what he's done his whole career. Let it hit him on his numbers and dropped it. Like, he had one legitimate chance to make a play and couldn't do it. But that's one of the things the Chiefs had as an edge early in the year. They didn't have a Kelvin Benjamin in their receiving core. Everyone that they put out there was a dynamic weapon for a different reason. With no Sammy Watkins, Chris Conley regressing a bit, Kareem Hunt being gone, they all of a sudden don't have as many ways to kill you.
Add that to what they have on defense.
The defense is the killer.
And there's some questions. All right, got to take a break. Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get the latest from the show. Also, be sure to check out more of the best clips from First Things First, or go watch a few segments from our other shows on FS1.